Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Matt Condon.
And I'm meteorologist Theo Cook.
Snowstorm still making impacts here in East Tennessee, especially along and east of I-40. It's been a pretty busy morning tracking the winter weather that we've been impacting most of the region, Theo.
Yeah, and some places have really gotten a lot. Some places have really exceeded the potential for what we said. So 4 to 8 inches was the range. Some places have already hit 8 inches, right?
Yeah, and we still have an opportunity for a little bit more accumulation. So most of us have been in that range, but we'll be watching for potentially some locally higher totals in the mountains. But we still have slick roads across most of the area. Many of us have a fresh snowpack, especially along and east of I-75 as expected. And that's where you're going to see the greatest impact really through the afternoon and lingering because the Arctic air will be sticking around.
Yeah, you just measured outside. What was the measurement outside the station?
Outside our station, so we're in the 4th and Gill neighborhood of North Knoxville. We were between 3.5 and 4 inches. So a little bit more snow on the grass, a little less snow there on the bare pavement. But still, our parking lot's completely covered in snow, and we, of course, will have slick spots as the Arctic air sticks around for the weekend.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that because the snow is the big story, but really when the snow transitions to more of just the Arctic cold, that's the big story. Snow will last for a long time, Matt, but it's really the dangerous wind chills, the dangerous cold. We had the coldest air of the season just a few days ago. That was 10 degrees at McGee-Tyson. We're probably talking about colder than that tonight going into tomorrow night.
Single digits expected for most. So we do want to give you an update about conditions across the region and what's in store really as this snow starts to wrap up across the region. So we do want to show you some of the cameras that we have across the region. So we're looking here. This is Newfound Gap, 5,000 feet there in elevation. I think we're going to see some impressive snowfall totals, especially in the mountains from this entire event. So this camera view is from the National Park Service, and you can see they're waking up to several inches of snow. I think it's going to take some time to get the measurement because, of course, all those roads are snow covered. So it's going to be a really treacherous drive to even get up there to measure how much snow is there.
Yeah, that's a lot of snow. We haven't had those official reports, but I mean, you can see that's probably close to a foot just from the way it looks. Now, Embassy Suites, definitely not a foot out there, but like you said, about 3 to 4 inches have been the reports across much of the Knoxville area. Like you said, Matt, right around the 3-inch mark for here in the Embassy Suites area, pretty close to
And just
our
looking
station.
at this camera view, I mean, there's just been such a vast improvement over the course of the morning. I mean, in this camera has not changed. We've been looking at this view all morning, but Western Avenue, that's the windy road, if you will. That's looking a lot better, but I-40, there's a little bit more traffic on it, but we can actually see the interstate. At times when we had some of that heavy snowfall moving through early this morning, it was really difficult to see. So the snow is winding down across the region, but we still could have some blowing snow because the winds are going to ramp up through the afternoon.
Yeah, heavy snow combined with the gusty winds. We saw 30+ mile an hour wind gusts, especially across the higher terrain, plateau, higher elevation of the Smokies. That was where we saw some really reduced visibility. Same for Tellico Village. We saw almost whiteout conditions about a couple hours ago when we showed this during the 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, the snow was coming down so hard, and it was later into the storm, especially in this area. And we did get reports in and around Loudoun County in the Little North City area, around 3 to 4 inches of snowfall, and that would include places like Tellico Village here.
Yeah, that was wild, and like you said, about 4 inches or so. Same for the Blunt Memorial Hospital area, Maryville. I think we said about similar totals, right around 4 inches there.
Actually,
as well.
we just got an update. It's about 6 inches now in Maryville in this area. So, of course, this is right outside of the hospital. The plow has gone by a couple of times, but you can see it's still going to be very challenging for all the healthcare workers that are heading into work today. Of course, we do appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not over. That's the other thing we have to note is it's winding down from west to east as expected, kind of Knoxville area. We said around midday, and it's definitely trended a lot less. It's not completely over, Matt. There's still a few light snowflakes.
It is a light snow for sure. I mean, it's not as intense as what it was earlier, but still, I mean, we have a fresh snowpack, so those snowflakes are accumulating. But, I mean, the heaviest snow that we've seen, at least on our cameras, has been in the Gatlinburg area.
Yeah, that looks insane up there. Obviously, we haven't gotten exact totals from the Sky Park, but what, 8, 9 inches in the Gatlinburg, Sevierville area.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to that mark for sure. So we, of course, I'd love to hear your snow observations and your pictures as well. It just helps tell the story. But yeah, there have a significant snowfall in parts of Sevier County, but also those numbers were replicated through a lot of the region. I mean, Hamblin County has a lot of snow. We had over 6 inches in Rutledge, so Granger County has a lot of snow. Southern Jefferson County, we got a report of 7 inches. I think that zone has a tremendous amount of snowfall that is going to stick around for next couple of days.
Morristown up to the Tri-Cities, Unicoi County, all at least 6 to 8 inches. And that fits within what we were saying, Matt. 4 to 8 inches, definitely just on the upper end of that with those isolated. Maybe we'll see a 9-inch, 10-inch report, but like you said, especially over the Smokies. Here's Kingston. What was that report? 3 point something?
Just over 3 inches. So this was one of the spots that actually received some of the lower totals, if you will.
Yeah.
That continued across the plateau. So our friends in Cumberland and Fentress County seeing lower snowfall. The really McCreary County, Kentucky, into Whitley County, Kentucky as well. This is Kingston. You can see that there's bare pavement in spots, so that's helpful if you do have to drive. But just remember, we're talking to Mark Nagy from TDOT earlier this morning on the show, and he was talking about that when the temperature gets so cold that some of that salt and brine, the treatment that they do on the roads, is just not as efficient, and that's what's going to happen tonight. Temperatures are going to be down in the single digits, so some of those treatment procedures may not work as well, so we may have bare pavement in spots across the western part of our area, but the threat will be there for continued slick spots tonight into tomorrow morning because it's going to be so cold.
Yeah, I think he said the threshold was 16 degrees.
Yeah, that's the number I remember.
And many of us are below that already.
Yeah, and so it's working now, but once that sun goes down, I mean, road temperatures are still in the 20s and teens, but they'll likely drop a few more degrees, of course, even though we're not seeing sunshine.
Yep.
It'll get colder heading into
Exactly.
tonight.
Lots of snow there. I mean, it still looks awesome with the lake in the background. So here's what's going on right now. As of 12:07, plateau, maybe a few flurries, but pretty much it's over for you. Same for Southern Valley and Southeast Kentucky. The event's pretty much over, with the exception of some flurries, some blowing snow possible. It's really kind of Knoxville, maybe just to the north and west, and then to the southeast. Heaviest snow banding is pretty much right over the same places it's been all morning long. I'm talking about Sevier County, southeastern Blount County, and then going up into Cocke County and Greene County. Those have been the highest amounts, and those continue to be some of the more moderate snow bands just kind of hanging around, especially in the foothills, the Smokies. That's where the event is kind of far from over, honestly. We could be talking about another 6 to 9 hours in some of the highest peaks of the Smokies. So here's the total so far. I know we've already said several, but here's some of the ones that pointed out to us, some of the highest ones. Parrottsville, Cosby, 8 inches. Definitely the winners there. That is a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And Pigeon Forge getting a lot of snowfall. That 7-inch measurement in Chestnut Hill in southern Jefferson County was earlier this morning, so likely we're over that at this point. Burgoynesville in northern Hawkins County picking up 7 inches of snow. Greene County was really running ahead of everyone last night, and still that trend carry over into today. Mossheim picking up just over 7 inches of snow. And then we have a tremendous amount of snow in parts of Sevier County as well. Higher totals closer to Gatlinburg, but even Kodak right there in exit 407 by the Buckies. I mean, you're seeing 6 inches of snowfall. Maryville's at 6 inches. A widespread 3, 4, or 5 inches of snow for most of Knox County. And then even Hancock County picking up 5 inches there in Kyles Ford. It's just a lot of snow across the region. But notice the theme as well, Theo. It's favoring areas east of I-75. That's where our highest totals
East of I-75. The other theme that Ken talked about the last couple of days, really all of us talked about this, but I remember Ken talking about it last night, was the gradient between just Knox County.
Yeah.
Some places have only seen 2 or 3 inches closer to the I-75 split towards Roane County. And then we're talking about Powell at 5 and near Kodak at 6. So
yeah,
that's a huge spread. Yeah.
So of course, some of this the snowfall is leading to some travel impacts. So we do just want to give you a brief update on the roadways as well. This is I-40 at the 640 terminal. There's actually an overturned car off the side of the road, so just be careful in that area. Obviously, the roads are pretty slick, and if you don't have to travel, obviously stay off the roads. But there are a few accidents. There have been some jackknife tractor trailers at times this morning, but the I-40 at the 640, the east terminal there is an overturned car on the side of the road there. There's a tow truck and obviously first responders there on scene. So just be mindful of that. Even though you're seeing bare pavement, obviously there is still an accident in this area. So we're watching for that across the roads. There was also an update from TDOT at I-81. This is northbound in Greene County. Earlier during the show, Good Morning Tennessee, we reported that the interstate was closed. The update is now that just one lane is blocked and traffic is getting by a little bit better. Again, this is northern Greene County at this point. So the update is that the road is semi back open, but still be mindful of slick spots in that area if you do have to travel this morning. Just looking around the other parts of the region, this is I-40 at Rutledge Pike. There was the shoulder block earlier. There was a car on the side. You can still see that there are a few trucks that are parked on the side of the road. Just to be mindful of that if there are any stalled out or disabled vehicles there on the shoulders of some of the interstates. The interstates are doing better than some of our secondary roadways. You can see here, this is I-75 at Merchant Drive, that it is snow covered. And of course, a lot of this slush that is on the roads has an opportunity to refreeze tonight. So there have been some issues on the roads. The biggest one right now is that one on 640. But of course, we've been sending out push alerts to our app, and we'll keep you posted as we head through the afternoon. But if you don't have to travel, of course, we recommend that you don't, because we still have snow falling in parts of the area, because this is such an expansive storm, Theo.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment, Matt, because remember last time a lot of us just saw some freezing rain, and some sleet. That was really the track of the low. The low pressures pretty much went right overhead of Knoxville. Look where it is now. Nowhere near us, well off to the east coast, just off the east coast of the Carolinas. And really that positioning is almost perfect for us to get some snow. You got the on-flow moisture from the counterclockwise flow of that low, and then plenty of cold air. That's really the biggest difference between last weekend and this weekend, is just how cold, not just the surface is, but also in the upper air, frigid conditions. We're talking about near zero, just a few thousand feet above our heads. So that's why it was pure snow, light, fluffy snow, perfect for just having fun. And honestly, the sledding, the snow angels, and the driving isn't atrocious, but it is still definitely slick where you have that slush that's going to refreeze tonight. But you can see really I-75 eastward is where the heaviest of it is now, but even those darker shades from just west of Charlotte into kind of that south or northwestern corner of South Carolina, there's some really heavy snow totals there right now. That's where we have the winter storm warnings in effect, and then the advisories surrounding that. I mean, some of our areas seeing those 8+ inch totals. We're talking about the Carolinas possibly could see widespread 8 to 12 inch totals, Matt.
Yeah, a lot of snow. So just remember that this is a regional event. So if you do have to travel, that this is impacted. And of course, this also impacted the airport. The airport was shut down, stopping activities through midday, and they did extend that until later this afternoon. And so, of course, driving is impacted, but flights are impacted as well. Of course, Charlotte, a huge connection out of Knoxville.
Yeah, 4 o'clock for that delay is at least the tentative plan for that. So going through the day, like I said, for Knoxville, at least winding down, it's definitely lighter snow showers still going over the next couple of hours. But by the time we get into mid-afternoon, I think most of the valley's done. It's really just the mountains through sundown and a little bit after. But look at the temperatures. We're talking about teens all day.
I mean, it's freezing.
It is frigid. And it's not just the temperatures. The temperatures alone are bad enough. But then you factor in 20, 30 plus mile an hour winds, and it feels like it's zero at times. So let's time out the rest of the day. Here's just in a few minutes, really I-75, I-81, and southeast. That's pretty much perfectly aligned with that, actually. Notice the north winds blowing in pretty strong. And it's almost...
Of course, this is in areas that have already seen some of the higher totals. So we're going to... It'll be lighter snow, but we're still adding to it.
There could still be some moderate to heavy pockets in southern Sevier County, Cott County. Again, those places that we've seen 8 or 9 inches.
Yep.
It's not out of the question that we see another 3, 4, 5 inches and get up towards those foot totals in some of the higher peaks. 5 o'clock tonight, again, Valley Plateau, Southeast Kentucky, you're done with it. It's still the mountains, though, at sundown and a little bit after 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And then I'd say about 10 or 11, that's when it's done for everybody. Look at these wind gusts. We had 20 plus mile an hour winds all day, but La Follette has continued to gust to 30 mile an hour winds. Anywhere you see yellow or orange, that's going to be 30 plus mile an hour winds. And that's gusty, but it feels a lot more biting when you pair it with temperatures this cold. 12 degrees in Oneida, 16 in Knoxville, Jefferson City, even 18 all the way down to Tellico Plains. These wind chills are insane, man. 0 in Wartburg, minus 13 in Newfound Gap.
Yeah, so at times tonight, I mean, it is it feels like the single digits like we talked about. It'll feel like the single digits all afternoon, but at times tonight, especially for our areas that have a little bit more elevation, it's going to feel sub-zero. So as we head through the night, just these frigid wind chills are going to stick around, and we're talking about dangerously low temperatures. And remember, of course, we're going to have the blowing temperature, the wind making it feel colder, but the snow is also going to be blowing around as well, so that could result in lower visibility. So as the storm wraps up, it almost might look like it's still snowing, even though it's not anymore, because it is just going to be so cold. I mean, midnight, we're still feeling like the single digits above and below zero.
And in the Smokies, almost 30 below zero. So probably not the best night to venture out to the Smokies for several reasons. But it's pretty cool how this is kind of almost like a northern event or a Rockies event. You don't really see this in the Smokies because we normally have that more heavy, wet snow. We're just barely below freezing. This is that dry, fluffy snow we talked about all week.
That's why it's been able to stack up. You have a fluff factor. You don't need as much moisture in the atmosphere. You can just get these impressive totals, and that's what we've seen for a lot of the area.
But then that also allows it to blow around.
Yes.
And we're dealing with several phenomena that we usually don't deal with.
Of course, it makes the cleanup easier. You could just take the leaf blower. I mean, you're not going to be able to blow away 8 inches of snow, but you get the idea. It is going to be a lighter snow, so easier to clean up.
Exactly. But that'll stick around through, I'd say, at least all day tomorrow, probably all day Monday. We'll have a little bit of melting Monday. It's really till Tuesday that this is.
And so that's actually one of the questions we got. When will we see the sunshine? I mean, the snow is going to stick around because it's going to be so cold.
Yeah, some of us, I actually saw a couple peaks of sun here at our station, Matt. It's mostly cloudy, but at least a peak or two. I think over the plateau, we're starting to see a little bit more sunshine. It's very limited, though, in nature. So you may see a few peaks of sun today. It's really tomorrow. I was looking at some of the latest data. It looks like it's 50-50 clouds and sun tomorrow. So I think we start with some clouds. We have a wave of sun, a wave of clouds, which will help. It's not just, and we're below freezing. I mean, look, 8 degrees tonight.
Yeah.
We're below freezing all day tomorrow for
so
just
tomorrow,
about
I mean,
everybody.
It's sun, but it's deceiving sun. If you're looking for some sunshine and warmer temperatures, unfortunately, we have warmer temperatures, or I really should say closer to average, back into the 40s middle of next week, but that could come with a chance for some rain.
Yeah, that's right. So tomorrow, maybe a little bit more sun to answer your question, but we also might have, even though we're below freezing, so not a ton of melting, but we might have something called the process of sublimation, where we go from the solid, the snow, to a gas. And the sun, the solar radiation is able to do that without even ever getting to a liquid. So you don't have to melt it into a liquid for it to evaporate. You can go straight from the solid to the gas. We've gone through tomorrow, so we're still below freezing for just about everybody. Today, tonight, tomorrow night. Here's Monday morning. 3 degrees in Sneedville, 4 in Greenville, 3 on Mount LeConte. These are the places that are going to have the highest snowpack, 7, 8+ inches.
So, of course, this means because it's going to be so cold, if you can go back one for just so people can get another look at the temperatures, because obviously we're going to be below freezing. I mean, it's going to be so cold out the door on Monday morning, but if you track it out, so we have below freezing temperatures today, we have below freezing temperatures tomorrow, and then we're below freezing in absolutely Arctic air on Monday morning.
Yeah.
So, of course, for some of us who have just picked up 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of snow, that snow is still going to be there Monday morning. So, of course, there's going to be an impact to your normal, everyday Monday morning operation. We're just going to need extra time to let the car warm up, but also potentially watch out for icy spots on the roads.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many school closures yet, but I have a feeling we'll start to see those rolling in, at least delays for sure.
Yes, I know there are a couple, and of course, we have that list on WATE.com. We don't make those decisions, but there are still going to be some slick spots on Monday morning because also it's just going to be so cold. So just keep that in mind. Monday morning, it's not a morning to be late. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
I say that. I'm a late person anyway. So
Even Tuesday morning, we may see some remnant snow, especially for the places that saw a lot of snow. So high temperatures Monday, we'll start to see pretty quick melting for Knoxville westward, especially since we've only seen 2, 3, 4, 5 inches Knoxville westward. So places like Loudon, Athens, along I-75 up into the plateau, low to mid 40s, even 45 in Tellico, 44 Tellico Plains, 45 in Pikeville. But where the snowpack is, we may only be a degree or 2 or 3 above freezing for just a couple of hours in Greenville, Morristown, Newport, and up into the Smokies, meaning maybe half of it goes away. But here's what going back to how long we're below freezing. It's one of the more prolonged Arctic blast that we've had so far this season, but it also might be the coldest we've had this season. So last weekend we were below freezing for a couple of days. We got down to 10 at McGee Tyson, We're forecasting 8 tonight, 9 tomorrow night. So if we do hit those, this is going to be the coldest of the season. But we're talking about 60 hours below freezing for Knoxville southwestward, because remember, just about everybody fell below freezing around 6 to 8 o'clock last night. Sometime yesterday evening, kind of started a little bit earlier north, but it's also going to last a little bit further north and in those higher elevations. In fact, I think some places above 4,000 feet don't make it above freezing Monday, which means it's going to be closer to 80 plus hours when you finally get above freezing for your Tuesday.
And hold on, go back just for 1 second. So, of course, remember, we just had the Arctic blast roll through, and I know that there were some pipe issues for some of us. So definitely make sure the pipes are protected because we're in the single digits tonight. We're in the single digits for air temperatures on Sunday. Monday morning is also cold. So this is more of a prolonged below freezing time frame. I mean, many of us are going to be 60, 65 plus hours below freezing. And last week it was just for one night. So just be mindful of that. If you maybe your pipes aren't insulated well, or you know that this could be an issue, maybe you need to let the faucet strip or make sure those cabinets are open. Just make sure you're taking some of those precautions, even if maybe you wouldn't necessarily do it, because I mean, it's a prolonged period where we'll be below freezing and temperatures are going to be so low. So it's definitely something to be mindful of and to take precautions for, because of this Arctic air that's just going to grip the region through the weekend and into early next week.
Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. Let the faucets drip, especially the ones that face outdoor walls. Open up those cabinets that face outdoor walls. Let the heat flow, and make sure, of course, there's no exposed pipes outside either. That should have probably been done last weekend, but just in case there are, definitely all of those precautions. So kind of let's wrap things up here. Low temperatures the next couple of nights. It is a prolonged event, but we get past it and we finally start to moderate a little bit. We're finally back right around that average low of 30, Matt. And it looks like it stays that way for a little bit as we go into mid to late week.
Of course, I mean, this weekend where you're so far below average. I mean, like you mentioned, it potentially could be some of the coldest that we've seen so far this season. We haven't dipped down into the single digits yet. Now, a lot of us did have a morning when the single digits earlier in the week, but we only got down to 10 in Knoxville. So,
and here's a fun stat. So this was from back, it's been almost a week since I checked this. On Tuesday, we were actually running about 2.5 degrees above average for the month of January. Mm-hmm. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
The first couple weeks of January were in the 50s, the 60s, almost every day.
Well, if you remember, I mean, Christmas was so warm. I was 60s, 70s, and we were so warm end of December into the beginning of January. We've seen a complete pattern flip over the last couple of weeks.
Yep. And now this is kind of going to average everything out. I'm interested to go back and look at that data and see where we stand now. I feel like we should be about where we should be. Right around that
because we had the extremes.
Mark.
We had really warm weather. Of course, I know a lot of us would have wanted the cold, snowy conditions for the holiday season, but instead we've gotten it 2 weeks later. But it certainly has made its mark here. We've had several Arctic blasts. We had that wintry mix of rain, sleet, freezing rain, and snow last weekend. And now, because it's even colder this weekend, now we have an all-snow event with several inches of snowfall across the region.
And that's how averages work. Sometimes it doesn't follow 49 as our high. That doesn't necessarily mean it's 49 today, tomorrow, the next. No, it's like extremes. It's 70 one day and then 20 the next day, and that averages out to about 49. So,
and also one of the other records that we were talking about was for the high temperature for today. If you were watching earlier in the week, we were discussing that if we had forecasted a high of 22 degrees, if we were tied that or below it, we would have set the record lowest maximum temperature in Knoxville for the state, January 31st. So I believe at midnight we were still in the mid-20s. So it was going to be close at the midnight time frame. Today will be a midnight high. I mean, we're not getting back up into the 20s. We're only holding in the teens today, but the record still stands from 1966, but it is still going to be cold regardless of that record getting broken or not. But we do have milder temperatures in the forecast. Yeah,
that's really, I think, the best news. If you don't like the snow, then at least it goes away by about Tuesday or Wednesday. You have the more mild temperatures. It's tough to call it mild temperatures, 45, but I think
it's still below average, but you know, it's better.
Yeah, compared to teens all day today, single digits tonight, I think we can call 45 a bit milder, just a couple degrees below that average of 49. And
of course, that may also come with some rain. So,
yeah, you know, we're talking about
pick and choose.
We're talking about the possibility of rain as we head into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Looks as of now like an all liquid event, but definitely a few degrees. It'll be a close call because our lows are going to be near freezing, but most of us should just see that liquid precip, and then a little bit cooler on Thursday, but not nearly as cold as what we're seeing right now. Here's a little bit of a science lesson. If you tuned in any other times this week. You probably heard this from Ken or Zach, but this is assuming a 1/4 inch of water. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about of the heavier snow, the wet snow compared to the dry, fluffy snow that we're seeing. So normally we're closer to that 8-to-1, 10-to-1 ratio. What does that mean? So let's say you have an inch of water, Matt, and that snow is going to make 8 to 10 inches of snow. That's if it's closer to 30 degrees, closer to freezing, and that's typically what we see. We see a lot of borderline events here in East Tennessee. So that's going to be your heavy wet snow. It's almost like I saw someone do where they had cotton balls and they wet the cotton balls.
You know, I did. If you were watching Good Morning Tennessee on Thursday morning, I showed this at 6:45. If you take 2 paper towels in your house, you can do the experiment. You wet one of the paper towels and you have the other one dry. You crinkle them up. You'll see the wetter paper towel takes up less space than the dry paper towel. So that's why we have the fluff factor. That's why we're seeing higher totals, even though there's not been a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. So because the snow is because it's so cold, the snow is light and fluffy, and we had massive flakes this morning. That's why the snow was stacking up so quickly between about midnight and 4 a.m. The flakes were huge, and we had that fluff factor, and that's why it's a light, fluffy snow, but we have high totals across the region. Aside from, we would normally expect that lower ratio, and it would be a heavy, wet snow. It's really hard to clean up, at least to slick roads. Also, it's just back-breaking when you're trying to shovel it and clear out your driveway or your walkway.
It's nice to see a nice, fun snow, something that's not as heavy. And this is pretty cool. So we actually got about 5 inches for many of us in the Knox County area. Many of us about 5 inches, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. So that means you probably got about only a 1/4 inch of water. That's not a lot of rain.
And the ratio
if it was coming down as rain.
changed a little bit overnight, because initially through the evening we were looking at some of the snow reports, and a lot of it was on the car, the grass, but it wasn't accumulating on the roads yet. So it was a little bit of a wetter snow. I mean, road temperatures were still on the warmer side, but once those road temperatures fell, we had that Arctic air push in. Now we transitioned to that light, fluffy snow, and we made up ground really quickly.
Yeah. Oh, and that's because temperatures fell throughout the night. We were borderline freezing in the evening yesterday, kind of in the mid to upper 20s for a lot of us, but then we just kept falling. We're in the teens now, so that's why transition from that wet, heavy to the fluffy, dry snow. Okay. Let's wrap it up. Let's get to the 7-day forecast. We are weather aware the next couple of days because of the snow today, but then the cold air tomorrow, Monday morning, single digits, coldest of the season. I know we just had the coldest of the season. It's like, well, how can we have the coldest of the season again? This is likely a degree or 2 colder, well below that average. And then we are tracking another chance of rain, but it does look again like it's liquid as we go into Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, a little bit cooler Thursday, but overall, not nearly as Arctic blast air as we're dealing with right now, at least in the next, the latter half of the 7-day.
No, exactly. So the bottom line for the rest of today is the snow is tapering off. It'll really take until this evening in the mountains, but also places closer to the mountains. So expect still some snowfall in really the far eastern part of Blount County into parts of Sevier, Cocke, and Greene counties as well. We'll add to those snowfall totals. Of course, now we have the lingering impacts. There are slick roads across most of the region. The worst travel conditions are the further east you go. And of course, we also have that Arctic air as well. So it is going to be frigid tonight, tomorrow. Monday morning is very cold. There will still be slick spots lingering until some of the snow either melts away or starts to wash away when those rain chances ramp up through the middle of the week.
And in the meantime, like we said, it's still going to be flying around. So it's almost like it's still snowing out there for the next few hours, probably through about the evening hours or so. The wind will start winding down.
Exactly. So we'll leave it there. Of course, the latest information on the forecast at WATE.com. Meteorologist Zach Gilday will be back here with Ella Wales at 4 o'clock for another update. And then, of course, we have 6 News at 6 coming up this evening. So we'll keep you posted through the evening, but we're on the tail end of the storm. Attention now turns to the lingering road impacts and, of course, the Arctic air. So stay warm, stay safe, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.